Hey guys, this is Tim from the Spiderduck Network, and as you can see, we are playing Halo 4 today. Trevor just recently acquired a video capture card, and so you're going to be seeing a lot of videos like this probably on the site. To kick things off, being that I'm kind of a big deal at Halo, and Trevor's rolling his eyes. Trevor's here, by the way. I thought it would be a cool idea to just kind of start off with like a Halo how-to video. I play a lot of Halo, and a lot of my seem to, well, they get frustrated very easily, and I think that they are basically at a point where they don't know why they're not playing better than they are. They feel like they should be doing better because they've all been playing Halo for a long time. And so I thought making a video like this, where I kind of break things down for people, tell people how I play, what I do, and maybe just watching me play and explaining as I go might help not just them, but anybody else who might watch this video who maybe wishes they were just a little bit better. First things first, let's go ahead to our loadouts here. And loadouts are a new thing to Halo 4. It's one of the biggest innovations in the series, being able to pick what weapon you start with. And as you can see, I have all of mine set here. I really only roll with this one here and this one, depending on if I'm playing Team Slayer for this or a big team battle for this. Now, as far as what weapon to roll with, there's a lot of debate in forums as to one rifle being better than the other. Really, I mean, in my experience, there's only one weapon you need to worry about, and that's going to be this one right here, the DMR. Now, it's the best weapon. It's the best rifle in the game. You're not at a... If you use a battle rifle or a carbine or a light rifle, but it's... Basically, you know, the battle rifle is a 3-round burst, and it's not as accurate as the DMR. The DMR's accuracy pretty much never falters. It's as accurate as a sniper rifle, even across a map. The battle rifle, the 3-round burst, it kind of starts to fall off, even just across a map like Haven. The carbine is about the same accuracy as the battle rifle, and it also takes 8 shots to kill somebody. It is rapid fire, but that's 8 shots you have to land on somebody to get a kill. The light rifle, where is our light rifle? Right down here. That's kind of the odd man out weapon. Interestingly, the light rifle, if you zoom in, it is a single shot, and if you fire from the hip, it's a 3-round burst. And the light rifle is also the only rifle that can kill in 4 shots, but it also has a very slow rate of fire, so that's not really saying a whole lot. So, with all that being said, I actually expected to spend a lot more time on this than that. The DMR is definitely going to be the weapon you want to go with for your primary. Now, for your secondary, again, it's kind of not really a contest. The bolt shot, once you get the hang of it, is basically a pocket shotgun. It is very unwieldy. A lot of people have given it a shot, tried to use it, and then just given up on it. I mean, it does have a very... Essentially, you hold down the trigger for like a second, and then the weapon fires. That's hard to get used to, so you have to kind of prepare for the enemy with the weapon, and it also has a very long cooldown time between shots and a very long reload time. So it's not an easy weapon to use, but once you get the hang of it, you basically always have a shotgun as a sidearm, and that's a pretty big deal. It really does kind of change the way Halo plays at close range. And so if you think about it that way, you used to start out with an assault rifle and a pistol. Now you start out with a rifle where you can hit somebody from across the map, and a bolt shot, which is basically a shotgun, which is a one-hit kill at close range. So it's very, very different from past Halos. Grenades, I should say also that the plasma pistol, obviously if you're playing on a map that has vehicles, you're going to want to use the plasma pistol because that's pretty much the equalizer. It's actually... Being able to start with a plasma pistol makes people reluctant to use vehicles, I think, in this game, because if anybody can just disable you, if they have a plasma grenade to go with that, they can easily just stick you and get rid of you, even if you're in a Mantis. Armor abilities. When I first started playing the game, the jetpack was probably the I laughed at the most and was kind of ridiculed. Actually, it's now probably my favorite. It is kind of map dependent, but especially on a map like Abandon, where you can just hop from the bottom of the map to the top of the tower really, really quickly. Just the mobility you get with the thing is really kind of priceless. There are, the Promethean vision is obviously very good on a map like Adrift, where you can see around corners, you can see through the whole map to see where people are coming from. A lot of people use the thruster pack. I personally haven't had much luck with it. I know if you are a close range player and you have a sword, you can actually use it to like dodge and then really quickly do like a thrust attack. There's a lot of technical stuff with that, so that's more of like an advanced play armor ability that I think is, for your average player, is kind of limited in use. I really don't get much use out of it. In campaign, it's different, but in multiplayer, I didn't use it too much. The hologram, everybody uses the hologram. I think it's stupid. The hard light shield, for long range maps, it can be like on a map like Solace. If you're up on the balcony and you get your shields get knocked out, really the only options either to try to dive off the balcony, or if you have a hard light shield, pull this up. So it's actually good for maps like that, and for complex as well. Active camouflage is something that I hate. I never use it personally, and it's also really not that useful in my opinion, just because as soon as somebody activates active camouflage, if all you have to do is look at your radar and you'll see the blue blops that are kind of moving around. Immediately you know somebody is invisible. So it's more like chameleon. If you know that they're there, it's just harder to see them. Excuse me. The auto sentry, not very useful. Now for certain matches, like if you're playing King of the Hill or Capture the Flag or something like that, and you're trying to just cover like a pass, it can be kind of useful for that, for a little bit of support. But for the most part, you're better off. I guess the usefulness of the other abilities kind of outweighs what you get with the auto sentry. And then the regeneration field. Again, it's useful, I think, in a limited capacity. I think a lot of players think that when they're standing in this thing that they're pretty much invulnerable. That's not true. It's kind of it's slow regeneration for your shield. So if somebody is still if you're shieldless and you run into one of these things and somebody's still firing at you, they can very easily still kill you. So it's more of a kind of something you fall back to as you're fighting to kind of get a little bit of a shield boost, and then you hop back out. But for all things considered, just the usefulness of this jetpack, from just being able to move, say you knock out a guy's shields, he rounds a corner, you can pop up in the air and get the headshot. That right there, it's just a very, very useful ability. And once you're used to having it, it's hard to go back. Tactical package, for a while there I was using shielding, which makes your shields recharge faster. It actually doesn't actually speed up the rate that your shield zooms back up. It's just the amount of time it takes for your shields to start recharging that's reduced. And it is very useful, but the mobility, where you can just run non-stop forever, ends up being much more useful, I think, in the long run, especially on maps like Solace, where as soon as the map starts, you have the sniper rifle at the top, you have the incineration cannon down at the bottom. Anybody who has mobility is going to be able to get there faster and then get back to their team fast as well. So, other abilities you might want to use in certain situations. I've seen some players use resupply to good effect, especially on a map like Adrift, where grenades are just constantly being thrown. Anybody dead that you walk over who had grenades, you can resupply, and that's actually... if a whole team is using resupply, it's really hard to beat them on a map like Adrift. Armor ability efficiency really doesn't have a whole lot of use, even for players who use camo like a beast. It's just, I don't know, it's not really worth the trouble. Grenadier, you're better off probably using resupply, just because you're better off having more grenades than having more powerful but more limited grenades, is the way I look at that. Firepower, I really haven't seen it. I did make one class back here. Let me show this to you guys real quick. This class with the assault rifle as your primary, and the storm rifle as your secondary, and dexterity as a support upgrade. Dexterity allows you to switch weapons faster and allows you to reload faster. So the storm rifle, you use it, and within like a second of constant fire you can knock out shields, and with the dexterity you can very quickly switch to your assault rifle to get the kill. On maps like Adrift it works pretty well, but it's not something that I would recommend using across the board. Not having that precision weapon for a secondary, like normally if you have the assault rifle you're rolling with a magnum or a bolt shot as your secondary. With this you don't have a precision weapon to get a kill shot, and that kind of starts to feel a little bit limited. But if they ever bring back King of the Hill, this is going to be a very, very, very useful class to have. So maybe make a note of this in case that game tip ever makes a return. And anything we haven't talked about here, let's go back here. Mobility, oh yes, okay. For anybody who's trying to build up their commendations, the specializations, it's a kind of one of the more poorly implemented features, I would say, just because a lot of people don't even have all this available to them, depending on when they bought the game, whether they got that code and things like that. But if and when you finally get around to it, I would definitely pick, and again, this is if you're working on your specializations, the tracker, because this is going to allow you to equip the requisition perk, and what that does... Let's remember how to navigate menus here. acquisition lets you basically re-roll your ordnance. So if you're playing on a map like Ragnarok and you get your ordnance and you roll it and you get like a Needler and Overshield, you just push up on the D-pad and you get a whole new ordnance. You can't do it again, which kind of sucks, so you may end up with another Needler and Overshield, but you might also end up with a rocket or a Spartan laser or something very, very useful. So if you're trying to build up your commendations with the more difficult to get your hands on weapons like the rocket launcher, the sticky detonator, the Spartan laser, the railgun, things like that, it's very useful. And I myself am really trying to beef up my accommodations just because I want to get, I'm sure everybody knows where I'm going with this already, the breach stance. And I'm almost there. I just need to get 3 more, I think, weapon commendations. And what else? Anything else we should talk about before we get into the game? I guess that's about it for loadouts. Now, what I was talking about before as far as like the basics of Halo, really, you can really break Halo down into math, to be honest. If you look at it as kind of like a race to 5. Every weapon that you're using here, assuming you're using either the DMR or the battle rifles, which you should be using, but they're 5 shots to kill. So it's kind of like if you're just engaging an enemy, you just meet somebody in a level and you start shooting each other. It's a race to 5. It's a race to you get 5 shots first. And I think a lot of players, not even just new players, but players in general, their problem isn't so much that they're not good at shooting, it's that they're not good at knowing when to back off. So if you walk out into the field and you get shot twice, you've got to get 5 shots on the guy before he gets 3 more on you. And just breaking it down into simple math like that, you know you just can't win that fight. I mean, you can kind of bob and weave, you can use your cover, and you can rely on your teammates, but if it's a one-on-one fight, you're just not going to win that. And so knowing when to back off, knowing when to back off to cover, knowing when to try to get out of there is really key, I think, to to reducing your deaths, basically. And kill-death ratios is the thing that a lot of players kind of judge as how good you are at Halo. Mine's pretty good. Mine's one of the better ones that I see. I have seen better, though. But reducing your deaths, I think, is more important. As far as becoming a better Halo player in general, trying to cut back on the deaths is a step in the right direction, because that's just going to make you more efficient in general. You're going to be playing defensively. Knowing when to back off is going to you'll be able to back up your teammates better and things like that. So, yeah, every time you're in a fight in Halo, just kind of try to make it an effort to think about the odds, just the basic math of the fight that you're getting into. If you get half your shields and the guy you're fighting, you don't know what his shields are, it might be a better idea to kind of wait with a teammate, wait on a corner, wait for him to get a little bit closer. Race to 5, that if you're fighting a guy, you keep track how many shots you've got on him. And also, another thing that I think a lot of people don't even know is that the shields, the damage is not dependent on hit area, like where you hit them with the shield. So a shot to the foot is just as good as a shot to the head, assuming that they have shields. So always go for body shots when you're fighting an enemy who has shields, and then once you knock out the shields, go for that headshot. That's actually a really useful piece of information for a lot of people, because if you're always going for headshots, there's a lot of room for you to miss. And I think actually that probably the people who I play with pretty frequently seem to be having issues. That right there, if they're listening to this, is probably gonna help them out a lot. So yeah, go for the headshot. The way I do it actually is I go for 3 body shots, I'm sorry, and then I go for 2 headshots, because a lot of times if you run into somebody, they may already have 1 or 2 shots damage on them, and they may have just a little bit of shield left when you're going for that last shot. And if you make it a headshot, there's a good chance you're going to go through the shields and still get the kill in 1 shot. So 3 shots to the body and 2 shots to the head is the way I roll. But just in general, to keep in mind that if they do have shields, hitting them in the body is going to be just as well as hitting them anywhere else, or in the head, I should say.